Yo, what's up YouTube? Back with another video today. We're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and why they are going to win the Super Bowl. So I think this will be a fun series to make about, just a random team. And, we're just going to talk about why this team is really good and what makes them and gives them the opportunity to win this year's Super Bowl 56. So let's start off by talking about the Steelers' biggest competition, the Kansas City Chiefs. There are a bunch of really good teams in the AFC. The Bills, Ravens, Browns, they can all beat the Steelers. But we got to talk about the Chiefs because no one's beating the Chiefs. They've won the AFC basically like 3 straight years. 3 years ago, they lost to the Tom Brady and the Patriots, but that's really it. If you look at the AFC right now, it's just the Chiefs. So what's the point of even making this video if the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to win the AFC? There wouldn't be one. But I think there's opportunity in the AFC this year because when you look at the Chiefs' offensive line, it has been really bad. The Super Bowl, it looked really bad. They lost a couple players. And in the preseason, Mahomes unable to score touchdowns, basically the same offense except Travis Kelce wasn't playing. And, Mahomes is a really good player, but with an offensive line that's not playing good, it's not good. We saw in the Super Bowl, we saw in the preseason. I think the Chiefs could lose a lot of games this year just because of that reason. And that reason gives, other teams in the AFC an opportunity to win it. And let's talk about the Steelers. So, what makes this team a Super Bowl contender? Let's just start off by pointing the obvious. Really talented team, really, smart coaching staff. This team is coached by Mike Tomlin, who has never had a losing season as a head coach for numerous years in a row. It's been a long time. So, Mike Tomlin's won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, never had a losing season. It's been like 14 years. Just shows how consistently good of a coach he is. The Steelers' offense is usually pretty good every year. Ben Roethlisberger is a good QB. And that basically leads them to a winning record for numerous seasons. Their division, though, it has been really bad in the past, the Browns and the Bengals, and it's gotten a lot better. So divisional rivalries are going to be intense this season, and I'm not even confident the Steelers are going to win the AFC North. But that doesn't even matter to me. I think any AFC North team, wild card or not, could make it to the Super Bowl, including the Steelers. So let's start off with the obvious. The Steelers have the best or one of the best defenses in the NFL. Last year's stats were insane. TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick are all pro, and these two players single-handedly make this team 10 times better. They're going to sign TJ to a huge contract this Friday, and they got Minkah for another year before they sign him. So these two players single-handedly make this team better, and they make the players around them better. This defense has led the league in a lot of defensive statistics last season. Takeaways were pretty good, stopping on third down, just, limiting the team to passing the ball. Like, the Steelers led a lot of categories in that. Their secondary is insane. And let's just talk about who they lost. They lost Steven Nelson. That is it. That's the only player in the secondary they lost. But Steelers look like they have high hopes for their replacements in the secondary with either Cam Sutton or, of course, we got James Pierre. James Pierre, the cousin of Lamar Jackson. It's been looking pretty good in the preseason, but, it's only the preseason. Haven't really played any good teams either. Secondary, really good. And just Minkah. Minkah in there, you can't throw the ball near him because if you do, it's picked. Even if you don't throw the ball near him, he somehow always gets to the ball and makes a good play. So Minkah in the secondary is insane. We also got the defensive line. We got TJ Watt. Across from him, you either got Melvin Ingram or Alex Highsmith. They lost Bud Dupree, a really talented player. And, you just can't sign him because he's too valuable. He's too much money. And they don't have that much money. So Alex Highsmith or Melvin Ingram, 2 really good replacements for Bud Dupree. I expect either of them to have a pretty good season. Along with those three players, you got Stephon Tuitt on the defensive line, Tyson Alualu, of course, top 100 player Cameron Hayward. Actually, an insane defense, one of the best I've ever seen. As you know, this defensive line really good at sacking. QB pressure was literally the first in the league. Sacks were, I believe, around the first in the league. Maybe was the first. And the only difficulty this defense really had last year was stopping the run, which is kind of surprising to me. But I expect to get a lot better with the return of Devin Bush. Got Joe Schobert. Robert Spillane is a decent backup. But with those two players back at linebacker, I expect this rush defense to improve from last season. And honestly, this defense is going to get better next year. And that's saying a lot considering it is the number 1 or number 2 defense in the league, maybe behind the Rams. So as you know, the Steelers went 11-0, and then they lost 4 of the last 5 of their games, 4 of the last 5 of their games. And you're like, what? Why is that happening? And it's because of the offensive play. The Steelers have a really talented offense, really talented players. But last year, what couldn't they do? We all know the answer. They couldn't run the ball. Offensive line wasn't bad. Just the scheme wasn't there. The offensive coordinator, the previous one, just wasn't making the right plays. And after starting 11-0, teams recognize the Steelers aren't running the ball. So what do? They capitalize on that weakness, and the offense gets shut down more and more and more, and they start losing games. And like I said, Steelers number 1 or number 2 defense in the league. If you're wondering why they started losing games, it's because if the offense is off the field more because they can't get a drive going, the defense gets more and more and more and more tired. That leads to sometimes injuries, but just poor and inefficient play at a certain point in the game, which, allows the other team to score points and win the game. A really big reason why the Steelers, lost the Browns in the playoffs and all those games at the end of the year. So what do? They get Matt Canada. They promote him to their offensive coordinator, and just looking at the playing schemes in the preseason, a lot of people are saying that the Steelers have a really bright future on offense. But none of this matters without a key position that they were missing, which is the running back position. But as we all know, the Steelers, number 24th pick in the draft, first pick for them, they got Najee Harris. And this dude looks insane. Probably the best running back in a while. Some are saying next Derrick Henry, but this man looks incredible. We'll see what happens, but I think Najee Harris has a bright future in the league. Could potentially, win Offensive Rookie of the Year over Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. That's how good this man is going to be for the Steelers. So, as we all know, or some of us know, former tight end Vance McDonald, decent player, not the best, but decent. He retired. So what do the Steelers do? 2nd round pick, they get Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. I watched this dude at Penn State because I'm a student at Penn State. I know this dude is insane. He had more touchdowns than Gesicki at Penn State. Gesicki had Trace McSorley for most of the time at Penn State, which, just gives him even more advantage. And that's Saquon, but Pat Freiermuth looks like a really promising tight end. And as some of you know, preseason week 2, had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. And they were both in the red zone. And the catches and throws by Roethlisberger and Freiermuth were really good. So some are comparing him to the next Heath Miller for the Steelers. And honestly, I think this dude's going to be insane. So they got Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth to make this offense even better than it was before. Also, let's just talk about the rest of the players. You got Ben Roethlisberger. We already know who he is. Dude's going to have a really good year. And why I say this, let's look at the weapons. At wide receiver, probably one of the best depth charts at wide receiver in the league. You got Deontay Johnson, who I think, a lot of people underestimate. I think he's going to have one of those, underdog seasons. No one expects it to happen, but could potentially, make the Pro Bowl. That's how good this dude is. I think it's going to happen this year. Along with Juju Smith-Schuster, what a monster. We got Chase Claypool, many are saying he's going to have like a breakout season. Last year as a rookie, he had 10 touchdowns. And they got James Washington. So when you look at these wide receivers, you got Deontay Johnson, elusive. Juju Smith-Schuster, basically the tank. On third down, you throw him the ball, and he'll get you the extra yards you need to get a first down. And you got Claypool, and you got Deontay and Claypool on the outside, and it's just looking really good. Besides that, the tight ends, I already said, Freiermuth's going to have a really bright future, along with Eric Ebron, pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if Freiermuth became tight end 1 within the next, 5 weeks. That's how good this dude's going to be. So with all those weapons, along with the running back, Najee Harris, I already said this, he's a really talented player. And what makes him so special is that they get him out of where he usually should be, and they use him as a receiver like they did with Le'Veon Bell. We saw it in the second preseason game. Dude had a 50-yard reception. And if they do this, there's just so many weapons on the field. It's going to be almost unstoppable for defenses. So, like I said, probably the best defense in the league. Maybe the Rams are better, whatever. It's really good anyway. And a really talented offense with talented players. I haven't said anything bad yet because here it is. Here's the bad thing. Let's just say it. Everyone's questioning the offensive line. I don't understand. Actually, I do. I don't understand why they're doing it. But the offensive line looks good. It looks decent. We saw it in the preseason week 2, but that was against the Lions. Come on, the Lions suck. But the offensive line looks pretty decent. Kevin Dotson, left guard, he's going to be a starter. And of course, their rookie center, Kendrick Green, he's probably going to be a starter, along with Zach Banner, Trey Turner. Trey Turner, a previous Pro Bowler for the Panthers, and Panthers gave up on him. The doubts about the offensive line, they made sense months ago, but if you just look at it closely right now, it's going to be pretty decent. It's not going to be bad. So there's 2 different things the offensive line needs to worry about. Well, number 1, protecting Ben. And number 2, creating pockets for the running back, Najee Harris. Najee Harris, very talented running back. He might be able to get extra yards off of a horrible offensive line. But honestly, I think the offensive line is getting better and better weekly at, improving the run game. And the only thing that does worry me is protecting Ben Roethlisberger. One bad hit to the dude, GG. He was the least sacked quarterback in the league last year, but most of that was due to the Steelers just threw the football really quickly once they snapped it. And that type of offensive play is not going to happen anymore. So with Ben in the pocket longer, there are going to be more deep shots downfield. And if, an opposing team's defensive line destroys this offensive line, it's going to be disastrous for friggin', Ben. He could get sacked and just easily get injured. Dude, it's kind of big, so we'll see what happens. But, with this new offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, I expect this offense to be, better. It was pretty good last year, except they couldn't run the ball. It's going to be better with Najee Harris, too. And I definitely expect a lot of deep shots downfield. So, this team, really talented on both sides of the field. There's a reason why they won 12 games last year and won their division. So, one thing that matters is their schedule. People don't really talk about their schedule when, they talk about a team's successes, but the Steelers have the hardest schedule in the league. There's no denying that. You look at their opponents' records, combined records from last year, it is the hardest schedule in the league, number 1. And many people say, oh no, the Steelers are going to lose a lot of games. What I think is this is a perfect opportunity to play a lot of good teams and, prepare for the playoffs. Steelers won 12 games last year, mostly because their schedule was literally ranked number 1 in the league, 1 easiest in the league. It was, a big factor into why they won that many games. Maybe the Steelers, win 10 games, maybe they win 9. But I believe they'll win 10 plus. And the opponents they're playing this year, very difficult schedule. Ravens twice, Browns twice, Chiefs, Titans, Bills. A lot of really difficult teams. And with that in mind, playing difficult teams helps you prepare for the playoffs. It makes you a better team. Because if you lose a game to a difficult team, it just gives you, it shows you what you did wrong and what you can improve on It's a perfect opportunity for the Steelers to prepare for the playoffs when they make the playoffs. And just prepares them for a great Super Bowl run. Probably every team that they would have to play in the playoffs, they have on their schedule in the regular season. So we'll see what happens. And if they make it to the Super Bowl, I think they're going to win it. That's all I got to say. Comment down below. What do you think about this team? Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Or are they not even going to make the playoffs? That's it. Adios.